What's up, everybody? We'll be back after the 5-minute countdown. New season. Thank you guys for joining. I can't wait till you check out this new software, guys. We got a whole brand new software. Way better than last season's. What's up, Ron?
It's showtime!
Yes, it is. How's everybody doing? We're going to pause this music. Welcome, everybody. Man, I missed it. We got Ron in the house. Look at that new gadget there, Ron. We can pull you right up to the big screen.
Yeah.
No more having to read our phones or anything no more.
Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
I told everybody, this new system is going to be 10 times better. And I'm glad we got it. Ron approves.
I took the whole 5 minutes of the pre-thing to make a graphic for us. And so I didn't get a chance to share, so bear with me.
So for everybody who's new watching this broadcast right now, go to 4th and Goal Sports, like and follow. You'll get a notification anytime we have a show. I post advertisement always a couple days before we go live, so you know exactly what time, what day, in case something changes or not. Also, if you guys are looking for a good football group, go search up the NFL Renegades. I personally own this group. It's we talk trash, but 99% of it's real football talk. It's a lot of fun. So if you're looking for a good football group, it's active all off season, all through the season. During the season, we do pick'ems. If you win, you get to pick the cover photo for the week, whatever team you support. We need more Lions fans. Anybody more Chiefs fans, but you guys are all welcome. So what do you got for us first, David?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just feel like a lot has happened in this last week. You know, the new league year began, I believe, technically on Wednesday. They had the temporary or what do they call it? It's the pre-tampering time where you can talk to all the free agents and everything, and they've already got their deals in place. It's so funny, the Eagles and the Bears, or the Giants and the Bears, or that's not what it is. It's the Vikings. The Vikings and the Giants are accusing the Falcons and the Eagles of tampering with their players to get them to sign contracts,
Well,
and so the thing is, and let me explain this, the people who are behind the scenes, the agents, etc., okay, they can talk to teams. The teams cannot directly talk to a player, okay? And you can do that year-round.
Well,
the contracts all set up and ready to go because the agent can talk to his player and the agent can talk to other teams and they can go through and they can prepare these things. But these teams are butthurt because Kirk Cousins was already looking for schools in Atlanta so that he could leave Minnesota and go play for the Falcons.
Well, see,
Saquon Barkley was all, ready to go to Philadelphia, and they got those deals done quickly.
Well, here's the thing, too, David, is I can't speak for the Philly. I can't say they did anything, but I read on multiple occasions now 2 different reports that said Kirk Cousins slipped up in an interview saying he had direct contact with the head of Atlanta's medical staff. So basically saying that they were communicating on rehab and all of that stuff prior to the league. So if that turns out to be true, that is tampering because even no part of that team can talk to the quarterback. And supposedly, according to ESPN and some more sources, Kirk Cousins slipped up and said that out of his own mouth in an interview. So I don't know how true that is, And to me, that's pretty petty to me because to me, how I look at that is the dude's talking to a doctor. You know what I mean? Maybe it's, to me, is that really tampering? Because, if I'm a player and I know this team's want to talk to me, I kind of would maybe want to jump to maybe talk to the team doctor to make sure, I trust this guy.
That's tampering.
Yeah. But technically it's tampering. So we just have to see it play out. But like I said, I haven't heard no other reports like that about the Eagles. So I really have no clue about what's going on with the Philly situation. I just know there might be something really on the Atlanta, if that's true, because they're saying it came directly from Kirk Cousins himself. But it's crazy. You got to see how Minnesota feels. They thought they were going to be able to keep Kurt, and Kurt left anyway. They're ripping them a new asshole online about it.
Listen, it's a blessing in disguise, okay? As a Viking fan, I can tell you, we have been strapped against the cap for several years. He's one of the reasons why, there was never any restructuring of contracts and kicking the can down the road like Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs. It's all guaranteed money. And because it's all guaranteed, you can't restructure the contract, to make it to where you free up room to sign these players. They were not going to be able to sign Justin Jefferson. They needed a running back ever since they had to let Dalvin Cook go because they couldn't afford him. Anthony Barr had to leave because they couldn't afford him. They had to let Patrick Peterson go because they couldn't afford him. Harrison Smith had to restructure his contract in order to be able to stay. And so, you've got an opportunity here, and that's something that I was just working on. Like I said, I was fixing a graphic up, and that is the Vikings have moved up with the Houston Texans. They now have 2 first-round draft picks. And so there's a possibility that they can either package these together, go up, and draft the quarterback that they want, or you're looking at a situation where they're going to have an opportunity to pick a quarterback at one of either 2 stages of the first round. Now, we can talk about the draft here for just a few minutes, and I can tell you that, everything that we've heard on the radio and the TV and everything is that there are 3 top quarterbacks, and then there is the second tier of 3 quarterbacks that could all go in the first round. Caleb Williams to the Bears, seems like an assured thing now that Justin Fields has been traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You've got Drake May, whose stock may be dipping down here, but you never know. This could be posturing, kind of like last year. Houston got C.J. Stroud by making him look like, his tests are bad and everything, and they tricked Carolina into taking Bryce Young. Okay.
Yeah, they did.
And so, but you got Drake May at 2, probably to Washington, and then you got Jalen Daniels at 3 to the New England Patriots. That gives you 3 more quarterbacks in the first round. Now, me and you have talked about this behind the scenes. You've got Michael Penix Jr. I don't care for left-handed quarterbacks. Okay. J.J. McCarthy, who, of course, you're high on because he went to Michigan. But the guy that I like for Minnesota is Bo Nix, who played at Oregon. And I
bet you guys draft J.J.
I think Denver ends up with them, to be honest.
I mean, it's a possibility, but only why I think JJ goes to Minnesota is because one of your guys in the head office with the players there, it was very close with Harbaugh. He's from Michigan. He has straight Michigan ties. And to me, it's just lining up perfect for you guys to get JJ. I mean, don't grant it, because I heard something today. I heard a rumor that supposedly they're saying that don't be surprised if the Chargers maybe try to trade for the first pick and give up what's his name, their quarterback right now, to the Bears for the number 1 pick. It's a rumor. I don't know how true it is though.
Repeat what you just said.
I heard a rumor saying don't be surprised if you hear the Chargers trade Justin Herbert for the first round pick of this year's draft. And you got to remember, Harbaugh's there, so if you do that, you already know who he's picking.
No, I don't think so.
But I don't think so either. I think it's a bullshit rumor.
Yeah.
But I did see that today.
Crazy rumors that people, throw out there. They don't know nothing. They're just trying to. It's a hot take.
Oh, for sure.
So they can get their clicks or whatever.
I just thought it was funny because if you remember, they asked Harbaugh in the beginning of this, where do you think? Would you be surprised? Where do you think JJ goes? And he said JJ would be the first quarterback off the board. So it just makes it real comical that really happened, and he really did take JJ off the first board to make him be telling the truth. It'd be kind of funny if it played out.
Two things with our new software here and everything. Do you control whether the comments are being showed? Because the comments haven't come up. It's stuck on the same one. And then, do you got any lighting? Because you look really dark.
I do got lighting, but I think it's because of the sunset. Let me turn my overhead light on. Does that make me better?
No.
There you go.
Closer to the screen, you're a little better. But then it sounds like you're screaming at us.
Oh, mind me. Minnesota has the 2 first-round picks, setting them up to move in the draft for what they want.
Yeah, and then, that's what I'm saying. They can package that. I don't want May. He's been compared by some of the guys to be like Will Levis. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Will Levis. He was kind of strapped with the team that he had around him last year. He's going to have weapons this year, But, just for my money, I really like, I like Bo Nix. JJ to the Patriots, hey, could be.
I can see that. I heard it. I've seen an article saying the Patriots want to try to hit twice on Michigan QBs. It'd be kind of funny if that happened too.
All right, so let's see here. You want to try the old ticker?
We can do it. The quarterback here is still coming up.
In free agency, there's been just tons of quarterback movement. Down there, you can see all of the ones that we think are, super important or whatever. I think that with Cousins moving to Atlanta, they're the favorite in the South over Tampa Bay. I don't know what's happening in New Orleans in that division, but I think that that's going to be, an interesting race between those 3 teams this next year. The team that is really making things interesting is Pittsburgh. Okay.
Yes.
I like that they brought in Justin Fields to back up Russell Wilson. If Wilson is ineffective for any reason, he's only on the 1-year contract. They give Fields a chance to learn the new offense so he doesn't have to be thrown to the wolves, because he's had, these new offensive coordinators every year in Chicago. And so, I think that's part of the problem, with these young quarterbacks. It happens all the time. It happened years ago to Alex Smith. It's happened to, more recently, you're looking at Fields as a person that if you have a new offensive and a coordinator and a new offense every year, it bewilders your mind trying to remember the plays, the formations, what you're supposed to say. I mean, we've heard on TV, some of these plays. How do you expect this guy to remember, jet right 32X behind the yellow with the Tom and Jerry and this and that 25 things in order to call one play, and then you've got 50 of those, if not more, and then you have to, and you have to remember the formations and remember where the guys are going to be. You got to check on, he's worried about the pass rush. There is so much complicated things going on, when it comes to all of these guys trying to figure out the game and get comfortable. It used to be year 3 is when the lights came on. The first year, the speed of the game was too much for them. The second year, they started to come around, but they're not real, they're still kind of, baby stepping it. Year 3 is when things started to happen. People don't have patience anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you've got a guy that's in a new system year after year after year, you're just kicking yourself, you're kicking yourself. And so I think that this is a smart play because if Fields sits all year, you're basically renting Russell Wilson for this year because you're not going to be able to afford him next year. You're going to know whether Fields is going to be your guy going forward if he grasps the offense, what you see in preseason and training camp, and he'll have a year to study and not worry about having to go into the game. But then, of course, one hit on Wilson and he's in the game, and it'll be the same thing all over again. But if things work out for them, I think that in the long run, this is a smart play here. I would have liked to have seen him, in Minnesota. I would have liked to have seen him in Atlanta, with all the weapons that they have, and they have quite a few weapons in Pittsburgh. But I think that we can all agree the wave of the future is mobile quarterbacks that can not only escape the pressure, can throw on the run, but can also stand back there and deliver the ball. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. These guys can move around. They don't have to be super fast like Lamar Jackson in order to make things happen. But if they can feel the pass rush and they can make plays, this is the kind of quarterback you want on your team.
Ron says, let's just say Phil Trades was very smart for Pittsburgh and stupid for the Bears. He only was accounting for $2 million on the books. Actually, I want to bring up something, too. I read an article this morning that the Bears actually had offers on the table for higher draft capital as well for Justin Fields, but for some reason they chose Pittsburgh. So that makes me think that maybe Minnesota might have called down and offered more, but they didn't want Fields in the division because they didn't say what team.
Same conference.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it had to be the
same conference. That's what happened with, I'm trying to think of who got traded and they didn't want to trade him in the same conference just recently. But it was a player that was in the NFC. They traded him to the AFC. They don't want to face him. They don't want to have a problem. I'm going through all of the news in my mind. We should have a shout out to the retirements of some of the best players in the league.
Yep.
Aaron Donald for the Rams, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, announced his retirement recently. Jason Kelsey, the center for the Philadelphia Eagles, 6-time All-Pro center. You've got Fletcher Cox, who didn't make a whole lot of Pro Bowls, but I tell you what, he was a force at defensive tackle for the Eagles. And, all those guys retiring, I think that going to be a real fun Hall of Fame class here in about 5 years, Chris.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy that Donald left, man. 10 years. They were just saying him and Barry Sanders are the same. They've done the same pretty much. Made Pro Bowl all 10 years, and both retired exactly at 10 years to the day they came in the league. It's pretty crazy to think about it. Yes, Donald and Kelsey give a big shout out to Jason Kelsey, one of the best centers to play the game, especially for his size. It kind of sucks, man. I'm kind of hoping to see maybe if he. I don't think it's going to happen. He was pretty adamant that he's not going to come out of retirement just because what the Eagles have done this offseason. But I'm not going to lie that when I was listening to this broadcast, I was kind of hoping to hear more on the bubble because I thought it would have been cool as hell if he did come back for one more year. Because it looks like, if everything goes right with the Eagles and they can stay from fighting in the locker room this year, they're going to be a good team still. They're going to be somebody you're going to have to keep an eye on with their moves. And just depending on, can the locker room bullshit not happen again this year? Because to me, that's exactly what happened to him last year. You go from being that dominant to getting your ass kicked against the 49ers, and then after that, you just go MIA. It's going to be weird not seeing Jason play. I think more. I don't know what's weirder, not seeing Jason play or Aaron Donald play. Because, you kind of expected it with Aaron Donald. Because, he tried to retire after the Super Bowl. He wrote his letter in and everything. And then the Rams didn't send it in and convince them to come back. So, I was kind of waiting for the Donald to happen because, that has been pretty documented. I know Jason's talked about it. But Jason's never really actually went and wrote a letter and retired before they came back. So on the bottom of the screen, how do you guys like that? We got the ticker. You can see where every quarterback went. I got one for the running backs. Are we ready for the running back one? I know, Ron, you asked about the running backs. So here we go. We're on running back talks. This year has been pretty crazy with the running backs. I think that I didn't expect obviously it's free agency, but to me, it was like between quarterbacks and running backs, to me, these two positions went faster than the wideouts.
Well, in my opinion, what you have is you've got some are salary cap casualties, some are guys that just needed a change of scenery, and then there are others that have taken control of, their money and their destiny and everything after they got franchise tagged last year. I was stunned that Josh Jacobs went to the Packers, and then they released Aaron Jones. I liked Aaron Jones, but Josh Jacobs doesn't have the yardage, the miles, if you will, on him. He's younger, but they're in the same mold. And so, they were going to have to spend the same kind of money on Jones. You might as well get a younger back in there, somebody that's hungry to prove they're worth the money. And I think Green Bay, they're going to be a tough out this year. We've seen what they did in the playoffs here at the end of this last season. And, Jones doesn't have to go very far, goes over to Minnesota. Minnesota's needed a running back. I thought Madison was a fumble machine. They went to Ty Chandler as a stopgap. But, now they've got a lead dog at the running back position. I don't know what they're going to do, in the draft. My estimation is that they're going to start Sam Darnold, and they're going to let whoever they pick sit behind him and learn, the first year, kind of like an Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes situation.
Exactly. And that's where I think you guys got Jones, because if I have a prediction, Minnesota's going to be a heavy run team this year, especially if Sam Darnold's a starter. Not saying Sam Darnold can't throw the ball, but, Sam Darnold's not your T1 quarterback, so they're going to really rely on the run to help him out back there. But you got JJ still there, so I mean, you guys are going to win games. I just don't know how. I just got to see the team on the field. That defense is going to be nice. You did make some good moves on defense, so I mean, you got a wild card shot. It's just you got to see if everything works out.
All of the teams in the NFC North have fortified their running game, and it's a good thing that Detroit fortified their run defense.
Yep, because we built that brick wall, baby.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago brings in Swift. Of course, they still got Khalil Herbert. And then you've got, Aaron Jones. They'll probably team him with Ty Chandler, in Minnesota. And then, Green Bay, they re-signed A.J. Dillon to go with Josh Jacobs. So everybody plans on running the football. And Detroit's, if I got to be honest, their defense was weak against the run last year. And whereas the year before, they were strong against the run and weak in their secondary. So perhaps they've, fixed all their ills. I think that, for me, Detroit and Green Bay are going to fight it out for the division.
Oh, for sure. I just don't like all these Green Bay fans. These people coming saying Green Bay's taking the division right away, because I'm not going to sit here and say Green Bay don't have a shot at the division, because they definitely have a shot after what the hell they just did this offseason. But
Barkley, going to the Philadelphia Eagles, I just think he's a more complete back than Swift, Ron. And he's going to have a good offensive line in front of him. The guard, who was a young player, is moving to center to replace Kelsey. They picked up another guy, for the offensive line to take his spot. They're still going to have, Landon Dickerson and the group that's been there, strong offensive line. They got all these other weapons, to spread them out. As far as, wide receivers go, he's going to have a lot better time running the football compared to the worst offensive line in the Giants. I mean, we've seen what Seattle did to them with their pass rush last year on the Monday night game. I mean, they were in the backfield killing the quarterback every time you turn around,
Yeah.
And so I think that with an improved offensive line, you don't have to worry about him staying healthy, because he's not going to take the kind of shots that he was taking when there just was never any holes.
Exactly. But what I was trying to say is, though, finish up saying here is the thing is, Detroit didn't get worse. If not, we're getting better. We added secondary players, D-lineman players. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a battle for the first spot, and then in the new year. In this new year, it's going MC North. It's going to be tough between Green Bay and Detroit. Travis Brown, what up, buddy? Culture sucks at Philly. They will fold in playoffs. I have to kind of agree with this, because I just said it. To me, for Philadelphia to have success this year, they got to make sure that whatever issue that they had in that locker room last year that just killed their season, they got to make sure it's fixed.
My thoughts is that you don't need to worry about skipping to the end. Let's start out with just the regular season. There's a reason you have a regular season. They brought in teachers. They brought in, new coordinators. You're going to have new weapons and a new atmosphere around that team this year. And so, I think that Kellen Moore is a really good offensive coordinator. He did well in Dallas. He did well last year, with the Chargers. The defense killed him, with the Chargers this last year. And then Vic Fangio, he was actually with the Eagles the year they went to the Super Bowl as a defensive, consultant or whatever behind the scenes. He goes to Miami this last year. Of course, they lost both their offensive and defensive coordinators to head coaching jobs. You had Shane Steichen goes to the Colts, and then, James Gannon goes to, the Cardinals. So they had two new coordinators. that they tried to promote from within, and they're just not the right guys for the job. They started out well, but things started to deteriorate the longer that the season went. I think that they'll have a brand new lease on life, a fresh start, if you will. With Moore and Fangio at the coordinator positions. They changed some defensive coaches. They changed some offensive coaches as well. Position coaches, and so I think Saquon Barkley is a great pickup. They got Devontae Parker at wide receiver also. They're going to be a lot healthier. I know that Dallas Goedert was, nicked near the end of the year. He wasn't his same self. But, there was a lot of talk early on that maybe A.J. Brown would be out the door. They're not trading that guy away.
Yeah.
They're not trading him. They're not trading Devontae Smith. They're going to be in the thick of it, and I think Philly is the favorite in the NFC East, Chris.
I agree. I also want to bring up the Chicago and the Swift signing. And mind you, I didn't hate Swift when he was with Detroit. When he got traded, it was what it was for me. I never hated the dude, but I think it's pretty ironic that we signed Montgomery away from the Bears for 3 years for $18 million. They let him walk, and they get a running back, because to me, Smith is not as good as Montgomery. And they signed him for 3 years, $24 million, which just blows my mind, because they would have had a running game last year if they would have just spent $18 million for the dude. But they said that was too much, and now they're overpaying a back that's not even as good as him, $24 million to play running back for him.
And they can't blame it on salary cap. Chicago's had tons of salary cap the last few years.
So, and to me, I think it's crazy. The whole offseason, to me, is just crazy now. Don't get me wrong, when they got their people on defense, and then when they got the Keenan Allen, I was like, okay, these guys are probably keeping Justin Fields. It would make sense to give Justin Fields his best receiver core and then see what he could do this year. But the crazy thing that they traded him away just really blows my mind. Because you didn't give this guy a true full receiver core like you do now. But now since you get one, you trade him away, and then you're going to start with the rookie. Just really blows my mind.
Well, running backs, they learned a lesson is what they did. Running backs have not been valued the way that they should be over the last several years. Jacobs was franchise tagged last year. They didn't give him the franchise tag this year, and he ends up leaving. Okay, Saquon Barkley, they franchise tagged him for the Giants. As soon as he didn't have that tag, he got out of town because they didn't want to pay him. Okay?
Yep.
And so then, you got some of these other guys. Of course, we're running our running backs across the ticker right now. Some of the big guys that have switched teams, with Cincinnati, I think that it was a combination of needed some salary cap room, maybe, and also a change of scenery. But they sent Joe Mixon to the Houston Texans, and then they bring in Zach Moss. So, obviously they value having a running back. Moss is a lot younger. He showed when Taylor was not playing last year in Indianapolis that he could be a lead running back. So they're going to have, I believe his name is Chase Brown also. So they got a two-headed running game in Cincinnati with Burrow coming back off the injury. I think Cincinnati will still be a force. It took near the end of the season, even though they didn't have Burrow, for them to finally get eliminated from being in the playoffs. They have a really good team, but they're going to, with contracts coming up soon, they're going to have to, do some kind of big-time money extension for Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And perhaps, just cheaper and younger with Zach Moss, so they had to let Mixon go.
Ron says the Bears' biggest problem is they had no offensive line last year, and they already have two decent running backs at the head of the line. If you don't build from the inside out, you blame the running backs, and that's unfair. Two guys the Bears have already have. And then he said Fields was the best Bears running back. I agreed. Houston is the team to watch out for. CJ continues what he's doing. I definitely agree. They could be the dark horse in the AFC this year. Like I said, I hate crying at the end of last year, and I own it. I'm not going to ever doubt CJ again. But hey, I had to doubt him because he came from Ohio State, and he was the first quarterback that's proven to come out of Ohio State and ball. And I'm actually really excited to see Houston this year. I want to see how good they're going to be. I think they're going to be even way better than they were last year, especially when they got Mixon now. That's pretty dangerous when you got Mixon back there. They can catch a pass, make some moves and be gone. Then you got to watch out for CJ running, and that boy can sling the ball, man.
Well, he replaces Singletary, who went to the Giants after they let Saquon Barkley walk to the Eagles. And so, looking at that division, Jacksonville made the playoffs the previous year, and they kind of faded down the stretch. Indianapolis was on the verge of making the playoffs. Houston made the playoffs. Tennessee, man, have you seen the things that the Tennessee Titans have done here? They pick up Calvin Ridley at wide receiver. They get Tony Pollard, from the Cowboys. They're bolstering their offensive line. So Will Levis in his second year is going to have some weapons. I originally thought that, the Titans were going to be in the doldrums and it was going to be a dogfight between just Jacksonville and Houston. But after seeing the kind of people that they picked up here so far, we haven't even gotten to the draft. I think that Tennessee's going to be a player. And then Indianapolis, the only reason I have them fourth in the division right now is because Minshew went to the Raiders, and that means they're basically starting a rookie quarterback in Anthony Richardson coming back, who got hurt twice because he thinks he's got to take off and run. I hope that he's learned this offseason and during the year that you got to try and pass the ball and just get out of trouble. Don't put yourself in harm's way, or he's going to have the kind of career, that some of these other guys have had when they take off and they take shots. Nick could have played so much longer if it had just learned to get down.
Yep.
Cam Newton was beat to shit at the end of his career. Now, granted, he was an MVP. He took a team to the Super Bowl. Maybe he's capable of doing that. But you don't need to sacrifice your long-term health just to pick up a first down. Get out of bounds.
I mean, that's the thing with these quarterbacks. I mean, sometimes you got to take hits, but, for the most part, if you can get down, you got to get down. You know what I mean?
Levis had a lot of experience playing this last year with Tannehill hurt. And so, once again, here's the running back situation. You get rid of the bruiser with a lot of miles on him, that's expensive in Derrick Henry. You bring in the young, speedy, fresh legs of Tony Pollard at the running back spot. They'll pair him with Tajay Spears, so they'll have a two-headed running attack there in Tennessee. You got Ridley over here on this side, DeAndre Hopkins on the other, and then Treylon Burks, I believe, is the other guy in that the rookie from a year or so ago. He's your slot receiver. And so they're going to have a really great attack. They brought in Brian Callahan as the head coach. He was the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. And so another one of these guys that have been in the Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan group running that style of offense. Tennessee's going to be dangerous if their defense can hold up. Yeah.
Speaking of defense, we're going to click over to the defensive clicker.
I can't believe Danielle Hunter ended up in Houston. That's another reason, Houston, that you got D'Amico Ryans had a pretty good defense, and they kind of carried the team early in the season until C.J. Stroud and the offense came along the week that they played Pittsburgh's when the offense took off.
Yeah.
And, but then the defense kind of got tired because the offense scored too fast. Okay? They're getting it down the field to Tank Dell and Nico Collins so quick on these long passes that people aren't expecting from a rookie quarterback. And, they did not run the ball very well this last year, despite having, Singletary, and also they had Dameon Pierce, who got 1,000 yards the year before. And so I think that bringing Mixon in, he'll be a threat out of the backfield. The defensive players that they have brought in, I think is going to be really good for Houston. I like Houston in the division over Jacksonville as of right now.
Yeah. That's a crazy thing because they said Houston was a big target on the Lions for agency, and he was tied here a few times. And they just said, like Ron said, the rumor was that there was other teams that really wanted him, and he made it clear that he wanted to go home. He wanted to be close to home.
You're absolutely right, Travis. He's going to pair with Anderson, and quarterbacks are going to be under siege this year playing Houston.
I'm excited because, being a Lions fan, Travis will understand when I say this, because am I the only Lions fan that's like getting excited about Cleveland, Houston, the Lions, all the three teams that usually get shit on 24/7? You can't shit on these teams no more. The Lions are finally there. The Texans are coming on the scene. Cleveland's building a fucking powerhouse right now. It's just really nice to see.
I saw something today about Cleveland, which I find interesting. They signed Tyler Huntley, who has been the backup for the Baltimore Ravens, I guess to be the third string quarterback. Because you've got Deshaun Watson starting. They signed Jameis Winston. And now Huntley is going to come over and be the third string guy. Why would he leave Baltimore to be the third stringer when he can stay as the backup, in Baltimore? I don't understand that.
I think they might have offered him more money because I think Cleveland has in the back of their mind of what last year could happen. Deshaun could get hurt again. Winston could get hurt again. And then here's the kind of cool thing with Huntley is, wait a minute, we're talking about a different Huntley, are we?
I don't think so.
You're not talking about the Huntley that was drafted by the Packers and then let go, are you?
No.
Okay, never mind. Different guy. I think it's just insurance. I think the Browns are just honestly so scared that they could lose all their quarterbacks again, like this last year. So they're just going after insurance. For some reason, I thought you were talking about the first one.
Yeah, no. This, he was he's been the backup, in Baltimore, and he's a mobile guy and he's shifty. And what's so interesting about that is that here you've got him and Winston and Watson. What about the guy who played at UCLA, the rookie who played for him last year, who did okay?
Well, they probably kept him, but he's probably going to be on the practice squad. I'm sure he'll stay, but he'll probably be on the practice squad all year, unless they need him. You know what I mean?
I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I should have brought my name.
But I want to report this one. Respond to this person's comment, Ron's comment here. Ron, I agree with you. Why would people don't go to Texas? More pretty good don't go to Texas and Florida. Well, see, to me, it comes down to where these teams have been. Houston's been kind of like the Lions for a lot of the years. Never really got a chance to do much. And to me, that's what plays in. Yes, these players want tax breaks, but some of these players also want to win Super Bowls, and they want to cover that. So for that sake, that's why I don't think you see as many players go to some games, because you got to look at Miami. Before these last few years, Miami was always kind of doing their own thing. The Bucks sucked for a good majority until Brady went there and turned that team to a Super Bowl team. So now that you're seeing Miami get better, the Buccaneers still, doing good, and now you got Houston coming on the scene. I think you're going to see a lot more bigger players possibly go to the Texans, go to the Bucks, go to Miami for those breaks, because now they're actually building better teams in that region. Because a lot of times, a lot of players who would go there were bigger names who already won Super Bowls, who want to cash that check in and save money. That's when those players would go there, but they wouldn't go there until after they accomplish stuff. Just like here in Detroit. Michigan don't have bad taxes here, not like California and New York or anything. I mean, they ain't the cheapest either, but they're not as high. But, when Detroit sucked, we only got big name players when they were about to walk out the door and they were looking for a payday. So to me, teams' cultures have a big, teams, what they bring to the table have a lot of talk in that aspect. But now that you're seeing better products come on the field like Houston, if Houston backs up what they did last year and even more so this year, that's going to be a big free agent market down there. People will want to be with the Houston Texans, just like people want to come to Detroit now. I mean? So to me, you're going to start seeing a lot more players go to Florida. And I think the league is now just getting these players are actually being helped manage their money a little bit more coming in the league than they did years prior. So now these players are learning more business to it. So that's why I think that market's about to get bigger and bigger as the years come.
Two things. The first thing you said there is that, they're managing their money better. They've got that rookie symposium that's put together by the NFL Players Association now, where you've got some guys that have made some mistakes or, have knowledge to bring to the younger players to help them, to see what they need to do, to stay out of trouble, avoid, the pitfalls of being, a guy who has money instantly all of a sudden and he hadn't had any money, and then the second thing, we were talking about Cleveland, having three quarterbacks. The fourth quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson out of UCLA is the guy I was thinking of.
Yeah.
And so, you say he may be on the practice squad. He could be trade bait,
He could be.
Because, I mean, that's a lot of real decent guys on the team. My concern with Winston going there is if he has to, step in and take over for Watson, is he going to turn the ball over a bunch, which is going to, in effect, hurt the defense, which is the strength of the team?
Well, see, that might be the one reason why they got Huntley from Baltimore, because that might be Winston's security. Because, think about it.
I wouldn't have signed him if you're that concerned about it.
I mean, Winston's that quarterback, man. He can sling the ball. The guy can ball as a quarterback. But the problem is he can throw you 30 touchdowns and he could tie you with 30 picks. He's done that before. So that's not a bad thing. And Travis, 100%. That's the same. You're seeing this. To me, you're seeing the same thing in Houston that you're seeing in Detroit. Two former players. And I think even this year, you might even see it with the Raiders even more than what the 6 games we got with Pierce last year. So, especially the Raiders come out and have a good year this year, you may have 3 teams, and then eventually you know what this is going to turn into. this is going to turn into a pattern. It's going to go from looking for young coaches. They're going to be looking for young coaches and former players to be the head coaches in the NFL. That could be definitely a new thing in the NFL. You see this every year. Trends start in the NFL, and then one team does it, another team follows, next team does it, and then it seems like the whole league wants to do it. You see it with McVay. McVay was the first one that started the young coaching thing. Now it's just getting crazy. But these former players become the head coaches. They keep having success. This is going to be the future of the NFL, I think. And team owners are going to want former players as their head coach, which is I think it's a great thing.
Well, I mean, this is a trend that's happening now, but in the past, it was that way anyway. John Madden was a former player. Steve Spurrier is a former player. You got Bill Cowher was a former player. I'm just going through thinking about, this has happened throughout time. It's not a new trend, although in recent times it is now, because it's been quite a while since we've seen, players turn into head coaches. Dan Campbell's just the first example of having a lot of success. Now DeMeco Ryans having a lot of success. Cliff Kingsbury was a former player, but,
Yep.
They made the playoffs, in one of his seasons. And so, you've got, these guys that are coming and going, and you just got to have sustained success. And, they won't be the first or the last guys, that are going to do this. There's going to be other players that are, current coordinators or their assistant coaches. Aaron Glenn in Detroit, hired. He's taking interviews. I think back, Dick LeBeau, he was a player. Andy Reid didn't necessarily play in the NFL, but he's a player. So, have you got the wide receivers? You want to show wide receivers?
Yes, I can. Calvin Ridley, Tennessee, that was probably the most shocking one.
Yeah. But I tell you, I'm really surprised that Marquise Brown took a smaller contract to come to Kansas City. That happened with Drew Tranquill last year at linebacker, and now he's signed a longer-term deal. You get this think red, think Super Bowls. They talk people into coming, But once again, this offseason, Odell Beckham Jr., he made one spectacular catch on a Monday Night Football, and everybody thinks that, if Odell Beckham Jr. is available, that they should pick him up. He wants too much money. Obviously he did nothing for Baltimore this last year.
I gave up on old OBJ is when he went to Cleveland. When he first left the Giants and went to Cleveland, and they stacked that team on offense. And mind you, I don't think they had the right coaching. But he didn't do much there before he went to the Rams either.
Listen, I think that he could be a great player. And in fact, if he hadn't gotten hurt in the Super Bowl, he might have been the MVP when they played Cincinnati.
Oh, agreed. But that's one game.
Once again, just one game, he's hit or miss. They played the whole game and they were airing it out, Baltimore was, and he had like 2 catches, and it was for less than 30 yards.
And I agree with you, because I hate when you turn on ESPN and you could see, look at Darren Mooney from the Bears. Now, mind you, a lot of people don't look at him as like a good receiver, but don't look what he dealt with. You know what I'm saying? But then you got OBJ over here broadcasting like he's the next Kelvin Johnson every time he becomes a free agent. And it's like, dude, I I would almost take Mooney over you because I've seen Mooney make some plays with shit play that he's dealt with through his whole career so far. And it's like I watch OBJ, get to play with good teams, and like you said, David, they're airing the ball out in the playoffs, and OBJ has 2 catches.
Agree, Ron. Show Ron's next text there. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of players right now that are homeless, that are good players, but they just want too much money. And even though the salary cap raised by over $30 million, which was a record this year, it helped some teams that were, struggling with the salary cap issues, but other teams are trying to be financially responsible. And just because the salary cap went up so much doesn't mean that they're going to just go out and blow all their money that they've got. They got to be smart with what they do.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you get into a trap, to where, well, this year we're basically taking a $35 million cap hit. It's like the Broncos. The Broncos are going to take back-to-back $30+ million dead cap hits because of Russell Wilson. Because they signed somebody to a big contract and it isn't the kind of player that they want or they need or he's working out. They put himself in a trap. And they gave up all that draft capital, to get him. I think he'll work out fine for Pittsburgh because they are like what Seattle used to be. Run the football and play defense and let him pick up a first down or 2 here and there and then throw a deep shot because he's a great deep ball thrower. He'll get it out there one time to Pickens every once in a while, and Pittsburgh wins 10 or 11 games this year.
Travis says, not an OBJ fan, but Baltimore is not a place for a wide receiver. That offense is all about running, QB, and Jackson. 100% agree with that, Travis. But the whole thing is, what has OBJ done since the Giants and the Rams? And actually one game.
Well,
the Super Bowl is probably the one game I've ever seen before he got hurt. The Super Bowl is probably the only game I've truly ever seen OBJ dominate before he got hurt. Because that's a fair thing. You could argue that he was the dominating receiver on that team in the first half of that Super Bowl before he tears his ACL. You know what I'm saying?
Zay Flowers didn't have any problem getting open for Lamar Jackson.
Exactly.
You can't say that they didn't throw the ball down the field. He threw for 4,000 yards. He was the MVP of the league, not because of statistics, but because of perception of him leading the team, all of the stuff that happened in the offseason, Willie Siner, Woney, and then they had the number 1 seed in the AFC. But it doesn't matter what seed you've got, you're going to have to deal with the Kansas City Chiefs at some point, and that's what got them.
Actually, Lamar only threw for 3,678 yards.
Okay.
Because the crazy thing was, they showed a clip. I seen a clip, and they showed Lamar, Patrick, Allen, and Goff. And Goff had better numbers than all 4 of them. And they were basically saying if the league itself didn't vote on the MVP and went completely off of stats, who's the real MVP? But to me, but the bottom line to me is OBJ he's always too overhyped. There was one more receiver I wanted to bring up and talk about. Who was it? Curtis Samuel, Buffalo.
Yeah. There was a chance that he was going to go to Kansas City, but it would have cost Kansas City $4 more million than what they're paying for Marquise Brown. And he got a multi-year deal instead of just a 1-year deal. Um, according to the NFL, my guy Goff is mid. Well,
Hey, I like it. I like having the dark horse as my QB. He don't have to worry about the paparazzi, ESPN, and all that bullshit. Magnet light, just let Goff be Goff and cook. He's doing great.
check the private chat, Chris. Anyway, I just think that, for my money, looking at what we've seen so far, I think it's going to be a great draft. I want to remind everybody out there that, hey, we're going to do our own mock draft like we did last year. We'll probably be completely wrong. We had a few right.
Okay? We had quite a few right last year, I think.
Those of you that watched the show, that participated last year, we'd love you to participate again this year. We're going to use the Pro Football Focus tool like we did last year, and we'll input, as we go. Somebody will pick for Chicago that's a Chicago fan, okay? If they want Caleb Williams, then that's what they'll do, okay? If they decide to pick somebody else, they'll pick somebody else. So we'll show that that's who they picked, okay? But we need somebody from every team that's got a first-round draft pick to join the show, give us your information so we can call you, text you, find out who it is that you would take in your spot, so that we can do the mock draft here. It'll be the weekend before the actual draft. Will be our mock draft. Just the first round. There was some confusion last year. People were afraid to sign up because they thought they had to pick every round. Just the first round draft. Okay, we're doing the one round. We'll get Rob. We'll get if you want Ron to do the pick for Detroit, or you can do it. Okay, we'll get Mr. Joe to do Chicago. We'll get Kevin to do Denver if Denver's got a pick. Anybody that was on here last year, Chris Alamudo will be Green Bay if Green Bay's got a pick. We'll try to get everybody that picked last year, and we got maybe some open spots. People have come and gone or whatever. We've got open spots. If you want to pick for your team, let us know. And maybe first come, first serve. We'll let you be part of our mock draft. You can pick for your team who it is that you're going to be taking in the first round this year.
Exactly. And also, if you're a real fan of football, Travis, if you're interested, hit me up. I'm going to start interviewing fans again on off day, on different days of the week. I might even do it Friday nights or maybe even a Saturday night kind of thing this year. But looking for fans that want to do interviews as well. But if you're interested in doing the draft, feel free to reach out to me or David, or message 4th and Goal Sports, whatever you want to do, and let us know, and we'll mark you down. This year the draft is going to be fun because when we do the mock draft is because we got the clicker, so you'll be able to follow along with every pick. Because we're going to have some fun with this damn clicker this season. I'm loving this. I'm going to get the Browns counter real quick. We haven't done total in free agency because the Lions know they're going to play St. Brown and Goff Sioux. To a certain extent, you're right. But here's the whole thing is the Lions don't have to do nothing with their offense. The only person that left was Jackson, which we all kind of knew. And good for him. I'm glad he got a big contract, but I'm okay with it because he can never stay healthy here for us. So I didn't want to pay somebody $51 million, and him be hurt like he was majority of the year. Glasgow stayed, so we're good. Our offense was top 5 in multiple things last year. You know what I mean? So what I'm seeing from the Lions is exactly what I wanted. I wanted all defense, and that's exactly what we've done. And I think we're just being really smart with it and not getting ourselves in bad contracts with guys who want this kind of money.
All right, we're gonna play a little quick game here. Okay, the game is we're gonna go through each division and we're gonna have a quick discussion of every team. Back and forth. Did they improve themselves? Are they on the upswing or the downswing? And where do we see them? As of right now. Let's start with the NFC East. Philadelphia, Chris. Better or worse?
I think better.
Yeah, me too. Okay. Dallas.
I think down.
Down.
And only when I say that because Jerry said he was all in. He said he was all in.
Are they going to start Deuce Vaughn? Or are they going to go with Rico Dowdle, who was the backup last year? I look at Deuce Vaughn as the kind of guy who is a Darren Sproles clone. But he didn't do anything for him last year, okay? But he can return, he can do returns. I think he needs to, if he gets a little stronger in the offseason, I think that he could be a good player for him. But he can't take the workhorse, load for Dallas. I'm thinking they're going to have to bring in another running back now that they've lost Pollard.
Yeah.
I think better. I
think better. I think better than what they were last year.
Way better in my opinion.
Who's going to be their quarterback?
Well, quarterback right now.
Oh, wait a
minute. They have Marcus Mariota to be the backup. They're going to draft somebody.
Yeah.
And with the second pick. But he might end up being the starter, the bridge quarterback. They still got Brian running back. On the defense, they had to let go of some guys this last season, to clear cap room and give them some opportunities to be able to go out in free agency and sign people. And so I think that they haven't done a whole hell of a lot yet, but I think they will. I think they'll get some bargain, free agents. But I think that they're better. I think the Giants are in the basement right now. They're just doing what they can to kind of hang on.
I agree. Giants went down.
Atlanta Falcons, I think we both agree they're on the upswing.
For sure.
New Orleans Saints.
They haven't really done much. So
I saw, of course, Michael Thomas has left, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. I've seen that they have added a few players. They got Willie Gay, linebacker from the Kansas City Chiefs, and they have been adding a lot of Chiefs. I'll call it retreads over the last couple of years. They got the Honey Badger there, who just re-signed at safety. They picked up, a defensive tackle from the Chiefs last year, and so they run kind of similar defense Dennis Allen does to Steve Spagnuolo. So maybe that'll be, something good for them. Demario Davis is getting up there in years, at linebacker, but he restructured his deal to stay in town. Willie Gay's just on a one-year deal. I think that if he plays well, then he can earn himself a longer-term deal, but he's closer to home being there in New Orleans because I think he's from, Mississippi.
Yeah. I think they're kind of border between what they were last year, maybe a tad bit better on the defense side of the ball. But I agree with Ron. Losing Thomas and their backup QB is a huge loss for them.
You got Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I think they've improved.
I think that it is that they have gotten better. They got some of their secondary guys who left. Whitehead's coming back. But they traded Carlton Davis to the Detroit Lions. So I think that that's a loss for them. But we'll have to see what they do in the draft. I think that Baker fits in well there. Mike Evans stayed at wide receiver. Levante David re-signed.
Well, why I say why they're better and improved is because they still got some money to spend out there. And if you look at the contract Baker got and and Evans got, Mike Evans, they're a lot of money, but they're basically still team-friendly deals. They didn't take as much money as they thought they were going to, and Baker just said in a recent announcement that's a huge deal for both of them to come back and leave the team money to spend. So that's why, to me, I think they've improved a lot because they got two key players back to help them get to the playoffs last year for a decent price, and they didn't go bankrupt doing it.
Carolina, I think, has improved, but I mean, you can only go up from being at the basement. You know, they pick up Deontay Johnson, the wide receiver from Pittsburgh. That gives them a good, solid receiver across from Adam Thielen. I think that Miles Sanders will be healthy this year, running the football. You know, defensively, though, you know, they gave up Brian Burns, traded him to the Giants. So, you know, once again, this will have to be a wait and see for the draft. But I do think that they have improved themselves, at least offensively, at this point.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see because we all know that culture over there is very toxic with that owner. So I guess we'll see if there's some new stuff that happens in Carolina this year.
Our division, the NFC North, Detroit Lions, I think they've improved. You know, they continue to improve. They didn't really have any major losses. They've re-signed their own, and they brought in, you know, and fortified that defensive line against the run. Minnesota, I think they've taken a hit. You know, a wide receiver, you know, or not a wide receiver, but at quarterback with Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta. You know, you're basically going to be playing with a backup quarterback as your starter. Now, I do think that they improved at the running back position with Aaron Jones, but I don't think it's going to be enough to overcome the running back or the quarterback loss of Cousins. You know, defensively losing Danielle Hunter. You know, where's the pass rush coming from?
Yep.
Now, they signed some offensive linemen like Dan Feeney to help with the running game, but I think Minnesota's going down.
Same here.
Green Bay, I think we can both agree they're on the upside.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's going to be between them and Detroit for the division. I like Josh Jacobs in the pickup. I think that they haven't necessarily done anything defensively. In fact, they lost Owens, one of their secondary guys, goes to Chicago. Chicago depends on who they draft with the number one pick.
I mean, to me, Chicago's improved everywhere else on the board.
Yeah.
But still went down because now they're going with the rookie quarterback. Because unless Caleb Williams is that guy, then they, you know what I mean?
On Facebook, Ural Jackson says Caleb Williams is a bust.
He's a diehard Lions fan. He's going to talk shit about every team.
Yeah, and he also reminded me that Devin White went from Tampa Bay to the Eagles. So that's a big loss defensively.
Yeah, that is.
As far as the NFC West goes, I think that it still goes through San Francisco. You know, they haven't really lost anybody offensively. Defensively, they've had some defections again, but once again, they replaced them, you know, with cheaper talent. The loss of Eric Armstead, who wouldn't restructure his contract. I believe he went to Jacksonville. That's a big pickup for them.
Yeah.
You know, and then in the secondary, they've got some guys that are looking to sign some big deals. They had to restructure Kyle Juszczyk's, you know, contract. Brock Purdy's not even getting paid yet. When Brock Purdy gets paid, which will be at the end after this season, they don't have to pay him yet, but next year they'll have to. This team's going to have some financial troubles. They're going to have to let some of these other players.
Exactly. This is their last chance. I think they really have to go try to get a Super Bowl.
We saw on Facebook where the Baltimore Ravens inquired about Debo Samuel, I said he's not going anywhere until they have to pay Purdy. Then they'll start thinking about whether or not they want to trade him because they can get a lot of draft capital for a weapon of his caliber.
Oh, for sure.
The Rams, I think that the loss of Aaron Donald is going to be huge on the defensive line. I think that they are a improving team overall, but I just don't see how I could say that they are, improved with the loss of Aaron Donald right now. They let Van Jefferson ended up going to, the Steelers or Atlanta, I forget. And, so he's gone. I think it says it down here at the bottom. I'll get reminded. They've had other players that have been, he went to Pittsburgh. And you've had some receivers that have come and gone. Now, they got Puka Nacua, Puka Nacua, they got him to team with, Cooper. And I think that they're going to be okay, when it comes to the receivers. But offensive line, defensive line, they've had some players come and go. I'm going to say that the Rams are down because of the loss of Aaron Donald.
I agree with that, for sure.
Seattle, I think Seattle's down.
Me too.
The loss, letting go of Jamal Adams is no big deal because he hasn't been providing anything for them, But, they lost their tight end. Their offensive line is in shambles. They've lost their backup quarterback. So if they have a problem with, Drew Lock went to the Giants. Now, I know they brought in Sam Howell. I don't necessarily think he's an upgrade over Lock. They're basically the same. Geno Smith. And, they got weapons all over the field. But the defense that was supposed to be the second coming of the Legion of Boom, doesn't feel that way.
No, I don't. Not right now, anyway.
Arizona, I liked Arizona, the fight they had last year. Now they're going to have Kyler Murray from the start. And so I think that alone means that they're an improved team. But they lost Marquise Brown to the Chiefs. They've got some other players that have come and gone, on their defensive side. And so I think that Arizona, I think they'll be an improved team as of right now. But I don't think that their defense is going to be better. I think their offense will be a lot better.
Yeah. We're just going to see how that division plays out.
Do what?
We just have to see how that division plays out this year.
Sure.
They got a chance to be the second best team in that division.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ron. In the AFC, okay, let's just start with the AFC East. We've got Buffalo. Buffalo lost Gabe Davis. Buffalo had to, they've lost some defensive players. They had to release Jordan Poyer at safety. They've had people that are injured, and a lot of defensive players had to be jettisoned. Offensive lineman, Mitch Morris, their starting center's gone. He had to be let go because of salary cap reasons. I think that Buffalo is not a better team right now.
Yeah, I think Buffalo's went way down as well.
Miami, basically stand pat. I
think they went down just a tad bit because they lost two key players in that defense. Yeah. They lost their Van Dekel,
Roquan Davis. They're having to restructure the contract to Jalen Ramsey to keep everybody under contract. And they got another issue with Hill. That's not good news with the fact that they ain't paid Tua yet.
And that too. And also, just throwing this out there, it's but supposedly Hill picked up domestic violence against his wife this weekend. Supposedly he only threw a cigar at her that was unlit. So it shouldn't be that much trouble. But we've all seen NFL take domestic violence very serious. So we just have to wait because, I mean, he's going through some shit down there because supposedly he's got 3 different girls other than his wife knocked up. So.
And that's part of my favorite meme of the offseason. Tyreek Hill impregnates 3 women. Carolina doesn't have 3 wins. And so the Jets, listen, if they don't improve the offensive line, Aaron Rodgers is going to get hurt. After all, he could be running for vice president. That's not happening.
Well, hopefully it don't happen.
Good promotion. Okay. I think that the Jets have taken a few hits. You know, like I said, Whitehead left in free agency. Now they did re-sign C.J. Mosley. You know, but you've got you other players are defecting. You know, who's their backup quarterback going to be? Zach Wilson could be given away to anybody for a Happy Meal right now. And so, you know, they're probably going to end up cutting him because they're not going to get anything for him, and he wants to leave, and they're not going to pay him the kind of money that, you know, his contract is going to warrant at this point.
Yeah.
The Patriots, I actually think that the Patriots have improved.
I think so because you got Bill Belichick out of there.
Jacoby Brissett's going to be the starter. He's been in New England before. You know, he's a good bridge quarterback to probably Jalen Daniels, who'll get drafted. You know, they've let some wide receivers go who were kind of ineffective for their scheme. They lost Mike Gesicki, Devontae Parker. They're going to get Matthew Judon back from injury, so that'll be a big help defensively. But they released J.C. Jackson, you know, who played great for them and then went to the Chargers and forgot how to cover. So they tried to get back to New England this last season, and he didn't work out. I just think that they will be better than what they were this last year, but it's hard not to be better when they were really bad.
Exactly.
Best division, I think, in the AFC this year, the NFC North. Okay, I think that Baltimore's taking a hit with Patrick Queen going to Pittsburgh. That improves Pittsburgh. I think they'll get better quarterback play out of Russell Wilson. I think that, you know, losing Gus Edwards, they're probably going to let J.K. Dobbins walk because they signed Derrick Henry. Henry's got a lot of miles on him. I think it's, you know, he's going to be and then get hurt. You know, they have a hard time keeping running backs healthy. I think that's what's going to happen to Henry this year. I think Baltimore's taking a step back.
I think so, too.
I think Pittsburgh's taken a big step forward. You know, like I said, Russ Wilson, Patrick Queen. You know, I think they jettisoned Deontay Johnson because Johnson wants to be the number one guy when George Pickens is clearly the number one guy. And, you know, Pittsburgh is great at drafting wide receivers.
Yes, they are.
Brought in Van Jefferson. They still got Calvin Austin, who, you know, is still recovering from some injuries he had, but he's got the speed. They may draft another wide receiver, but I think that they're going to be all right. You know, and then, of course, you know, when you add, you know, defensive players like they're adding, Pittsburgh's going to be in really good shape. You know, Patrick Queen along with T.J. Watt, and you know, they added somebody else on the defense, and I can't remember who it is, that's going to be on the other side from Watt, and they're going to wreak havoc this year.
Yeah.
You know, so Pittsburgh with a big up. Cincinnati, they're going to be better than last year because they're going to have Burrow probably for the whole year, hopefully. I think that they're going to get Higgins signed. They may lose Tyler Boyd because he's not under the franchise tag, but they got a revolving door at tight end. They've had Hayden Hurst, they had C.J. Uzuma. You know, now they're moving on again with is it Gesicki that's there now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so they got a revolving door at tight end. The offensive line was okay, but they lost Jonah Williams. He went and signed elsewhere. So they're going to be looking for offensive line help. Defensively, they're going to get Von Bell back after a 1-year hiatus in Carolina. I think Cincinnati will be better than they were last year.
And we already discussed Cleveland. Cleveland's much improved. They're going to be very good.
Yeah, that's gonna be a really tough division, as will the AFC South. Starting with the team that we don't expect to fare well in the division. Anthony Richardson at quarterback. They do have Joe Flacco to be his backup. So if he goes down, they've got a steady guy there.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor will get the bulk of the carries now with Zach Moss gone. They're going to re-sign Michael Pittman Jr. Defensively, I don't know if they've taken any hits or not. I know they re-signed Kenny Moore. I'm going to say that they are a hair better.
Yeah.
But that's still not going to keep them from being fourth in the division, because I think third in the division is Tennessee Titans with the that they've had, which we've talked about. Pollard, Ridley, and then number 2 in the division, Jacksonville. They bring in Gabe Davis at wide receiver. They've added some players. They got Mitch Morris from Buffalo. They got Eric Armstead from San Francisco defensively. I think it's going to be a real dogfight between them and Houston, who continues to add good pieces on both sides of the field. I think we can both agree that Jacksonville's improved, Houston has improved, Tennessee has improved, everybody's improved in that division.
Yep.
And then we go to the AFC West, where the champs are still the champs. They let Marquez Valdez-Scantling go. They're going to replace him with Marquise Brown. He's not going to drop the ball, like Marquez Valdez-Scantling did. And I think Irv Smith Jr. coming in at tight end. We're going to see a lot more double tight end sets, which means they're going to focus on running the ball, play action to the tight ends, which is good because they need the play action to work more effectively now that Kelsey's getting up there in age. I think that Kansas City is going to be a better team than they were last year. I don't think they're going to lose Snead. They've already re-signed Chris Jones. They kept Drew Tranquill. He basically is going to be where Willie Gay was at now on a full-time basis instead of a part-time player. You can't say the Raiders are going to be second when they got Gardner Minshew as the quarterback. Okay, you're going to have Zamir White as the lead runner there. He did okay for the 4 games that he was in there, but he's not going to be able to carry the work.
I don't think Minshew is going to be the starter. I think O'Connor's going to be the starter. I think Minshew is going to be the backup.
Either way, I don't think that you're in very good shape.
Well,
Devontae Adams.
I mean, to me, I agree with you. It should probably be LA just because they got Hubert. But then again, I see what Ron's thinking is you haven't seen LA with Jim Harbaugh this year. Denver does not have their quarterback this year yet.
Herbert.
Herbert, sorry.
Herbert. Okay. Who is he going to throw the ball to? The answer is Quentin Johnston, who they drafted last year with their number 1 pick. Josh Palmer has been very good in the slot. I think they'll draft another wide receiver. They brought in a different tight end to replace Gerald Everett. Okay. I think that, it's all defense. The defense is the part that needs the improving for this team, but they've been so cash-strapped, they had to let Mike Williams walk. They had to trade Keenan Allen away, but they restructured the contracts of Bosa and Mack. And so, I think the draft is going to be super important for the Chargers. but I like the way that the coaching staff was put together. I like Jim Harbaugh as a coach. I think they're going to be winners this year. They may not make the playoffs, but they're going to get 10 wins.
Yeah.
And then, I think that when it comes to Denver, the reason that I say Denver finishes last is because who's going to be the quarterback?
Yeah.
Are they going to draft a guy, or are they going to go with Jared Stidham? And then you've got, a kind of a mix of players at running back that have been injured and are kind of journeymen. Like you got Samaje Perine and you got Javonte Williams. They just let go of Jerry Jeudy and traded him away to Cleveland. And so, Cortland Sutton, I think, is a good wide receiver. Who else is catching the ball? They got
Exactly.
Troutman, who's a former Saint at tight end, and Greg Dortch, I think is his name. So double tight end sets in Denver also. And then defensively, they had to, cut Justin Simmons and, their best safety because of cap concerns, all the dead money, from Russell Wilson. I think it's going to be a down year for Denver.
Yeah, I agree.
And so there you go. There's a quick review of all of the divisions and all of the teams. Chris, love the new graphics.
Me too.
We're doing this again next weekend, so we can continue. We'll work out some more kinks. We'll have some new subjects to talk about. I'm sure there'll be some more movement free agency-wise. We'll go over the draft order, and we'll try to get some people signed up for our mock draft coming up here in a few weeks. And thanks, everybody.
Thank you for joining us. First episode of the new season. And if you guys haven't done it yet, please go like Fourth and Goal Sports. Follow us there. Also, if you're looking for a good football group, talk your football, talk your trash, memes, the whole 9 yards, please go join NFL Renegades. I appreciate it.
I'm going to reach for that. I'm going to reach for it.
Oh, my God, I didn't realize that.
The Fourth and Goal Sports on YouTube, not just on Facebook.
Yep.
Are we on Twitch now too?
Yep, we're on Twitch, YouTube,
Twitch, Facebook, NFL Renegades, Christopher Serra Jr.'s Facebook page. I'm David Llewellyn. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Sunday for another edition right here of the Fourth and Goal Sports podcast.
Okay, guys, we'll see you next week. Glad to be back. Had a lot of fun, David. We'll see you later, buddy.
Good night, bud.
See you guys later. Thank you for joining in.